Hello, everyone. I'm Natasha, and today I have something very exciting prepared for you. If you've been trying to take your English to the next level, today's lesson is going to be like a treasure chest of advanced vocabulary. Vocabulary you can actually use every single day. We're not just talking about memorizing long, complicated words that you'll never say in real life. We're going to focus on 175 advanced words, words that are practical, useful, and powerful enough to make you sound fluent, confident, and clear whenever you speak. By the end of this session, you'll know exactly how to use them naturally in conversation, in writing, and in all the situations where you want your English to shine. Now, before we begin, I want you to relax and imagine this as if we're having a friendly conversation. I'll give you each word, explain what it means, share examples you can copy, and then guide you through some short practice exercises so you can immediately start using them. This is not about rushing through a list. This is about making each word part of your active vocabulary. So you don't just recognize it when you hear it, you actually use it when you speak. For example, let's say our first word is meticulous. It means showing great attention to detail. You could say, she is meticulous when planning her trips. Or, he checked the report in a meticulous way before sending it. Now, let's practice together. I'll say the sentence slowly, and I want you to repeat after me. I am meticulous when I prepare for a meeting. Good. Now say it again, but change the subject to we. We are meticulous when we prepare for a meeting. By doing this, you're training your mouth and your brain to produce the word naturally. We'll do this same process for all the words. I'll share a short explanation, then real-life examples, and then you'll have a small practice session to help you internalize it. Sometimes, I'll give you more than one example, because different contexts can help your brain store the word more deeply. If the word is something you might hear in both casual and professional situations, I'll give you examples for both. Throughout this lesson, I'll also connect these words to everyday situations so they feel relevant to you. If a word can be used in a story about your job, your studies, or even what you did over the weekend, we'll explore that. The goal here is not to just know the word, it's to own it, to be comfortable enough that it flows out naturally, whether you're speaking to a friend, a teacher, or even in a meeting. So, as we go along, I'll occasionally pause and say, now it's your turn. When I do that, I want you to actually speak the sentences out loud. Don't just listen in your head, because fluency is built with your voice. Not only with your mind, this practice will make the words stick much faster than passive learning. All right, let's dive in together. Imagine this as a long, flowing conversation where each word is a new tool in your English vocabulary toolbox. By the time we're done, you'll not only know these 175 advanced words, you'll be able to use them with ease in your everyday life. Our first word is meticulous. As I mentioned earlier, this means paying great attention to small details and being very careful in your work or actions. For example, you could say, he is meticulous in organizing his files. Or, the chef is meticulous about the freshness of ingredients. Now, let's practice together. Repeat after me, slowly. I am meticulous when I prepare for a presentation. Good. Now try changing it. We are meticulous when we clean our workspace. This small change helps you remember that you can adapt the word to different situations. Try one more. She is meticulous in her daily routine, making sure every task is done perfectly. Our next word is eloquent. This describes someone who speaks or writes in a very clear, persuasive, and effective way. For example, the speaker gave an eloquent speech that moved the audience to tears, or her writing style is so eloquent that it captures the reader's attention instantly. Let's practice. I want to be eloquent when I talk about my ideas. Now change it to, he is eloquent when explaining complex topics. One more. They were eloquent in defending their point of view during the discussion. The third word is pragmatic. This means dealing with things in a practical and realistic way, instead of only focusing on theories or ideas. For example, we need a pragmatic approach to solve this problem. Or, she is very pragmatic about her career choices, always thinking about what will actually work in real life. Practice with me. I take a pragmatic view when making decisions. Now you. He is pragmatic when planning new projects. And one more. They suggested a pragmatic solution that worked immediately. Our fourth word is versatile. This describes someone or something that is able to adapt to many different situations or perform many different functions. For example, she is a versatile musician who can play 5 instruments. Or, this jacket is versatile. You can wear it in both casual and formal settings. Practice time. I am a versatile person who can work in different roles. Now you. He is versatile and can fix almost anything in the house. And another. They bought a versatile piece of furniture that works in any room. The next word is astute. This means having the ability to notice and understand things quickly, often to your advantage. For example, he is an astute businessman who always spots opportunities. Or, she made an astute observation during the meeting. Let's practice. I try to be astute when listening to people. Your turn. She is astute in understanding people's needs. And another. They made an astute decision to invest early. Now we have tenacious. This means being very determined and not giving up easily. For example, she is a tenacious learner who studies every day. Or, he showed tenacious effort in finishing the marathon despite the rain. Practice. I am tenacious when I work toward my goals. Now, he is tenacious in defending his beliefs. And one more. They remained tenacious in their fight for justice. Our next word is conscientious. This means being careful, thorough, and doing your work with a lot of attention and responsibility. For example, she is a conscientious employee who always meets deadlines. Or, he is conscientious about recycling and helping the environment. Let's practice. I am conscientious in my daily work. Now you. He is conscientious when completing assignments. And another. They are conscientious about their health and fitness. Moving on to innovative. This means introducing new ideas, methods, or products. For example, she came up with an innovative way to save time in the kitchen, or the company is known for its innovative designs. Practic the time. I want to be innovative in my work. Now, he is innovative when creating new strategies. And another, they launched an innovative solution that changed the market. The next word is articulate. This describes someone who can express themselves clearly and effectively. For example, he is articulate and can explain complex ideas simply, or she gave an articulate response to the question. Practice. I try to be articulate when speaking in public. Now, she is articulate in presenting her ideas to the team. One more. They are articulate in their communication with customers. Finally, for this section, we have resilient. This means being able to recover quickly from difficulties or challenges. For example, she is resilient after facing many setbacks, or he remained resilient during tough times at work. Practice. I am resilient when dealing with problems. Now you. She is resilient in the face of failure. And another. They are resilient after experiencing a major change in their lives. Our next word is perceptive. This means having a deep understanding of things or noticing details that others might miss. For example, she is perceptive and always understands how people are feeling. Or, he made a perceptive comment that revealed the real problem. Practice with me. I am perceptive when reading people's emotions. Now try. He is perceptive about changes in the market. And another. They are perceptive enough to see patterns others don't notice. The next word is altruistic. This means showing a selfless concern for the well-being of others. For example, her altruistic nature makes her help strangers without expecting anything in return. Or, he made an altruistic decision to donate most of his earnings to charity. Practice. I want to be altruistic in my actions. Now, she is altruistic and always ready to help. And another. They took an altruistic approach to solving community problems. Then we have candid. This means being honest and straightforward, even if it's uncomfortable. For example, she gave a candid opinion about the project, or he was candid about the mistakes he made. Practice time. I try to be candid when giving feedback. Now you. He is candid when talking about his experiences. And one more. They had a candid discussion about the challenges ahead. Our next word is scrupulous. This means being very careful about doing what is right or correct and paying attention to details. For example, she is scrupulous in checking her work before submission, or he is scrupulous in following the rules. Practice. I am scrupulous when handling important tasks. Now, she is scrupulous about keeping promises. And another. They are scrupulous in recording data accurately. Moving on to emphatic. This means expressing something in a clear, strong, and forceful way. For example, she gave an emphatic no to the idea. Or, he was emphatic about the importance of safety. Practice. I am emphatic when I speak about my values. Now, he is emphatic in expressing his opinion. And another. They were emphatic about their decision to move forward. Our next word is diligent. This means showing constant effort and hard work toward achieving something. For example, she is diligent in her studies. Or, he worked diligently to finish the project before the deadline. Practice. I am diligent in my daily learning. Now, she is diligent in her preparation for the exam. And another. They are diligent in building strong customer relationships. The next word is formidable. This means something or someone that inspires fear or respect due to being powerful, impressive, or difficult. For example, she faced a formidable challenge but overcame it. Or, he is a formidable opponent in debates. Practice. I am ready to face formidable tasks at work. Now, he is a formidable leader who inspires his team. And another. They overcame formidable obstacles to achieve success. Then we have lucid. This means being expressed clearly and easy to understand, or having a clear mind. For example, her explanation was so lucid that even beginners understood. Or, he gave a lucid account of the incident. Practice. I try to be lucid when explaining difficult topics. Now, she is lucid in her storytelling. And another. They made a lucid argument in the meeting. Our next word is magnanimous. This means being generous and forgiving, especially towards someone less powerful or after a disagreement. For example, she was magnanimous in forgiving her rival. Or, he is magnanimous in sharing credit with the whole team. Practice. I want to be magnanimous when others make mistakes. Now, she is magnanimous in her victories. And another. They were magnanimous after winning the competition. Finally, for this section, we have astounding. This means something that is surprisingly impressive or amazing. For example, the view from the mountain was astounding. Or, she made an astounding recovery after the injury. Practice. I saw an astounding performance at the concert. Now, he has an astounding ability to solve problems. And another. They delivered an astounding result in such a short time. Our next word is proficient. This means being skilled and competent in doing something. For example, she is proficient in using graphic design software. Or, he is proficient at playing the guitar. Practice with me. I am proficient in English conversation. Now, he is proficient at cooking Italian dishes. And another. They are proficient in solving technical problems quickly. The next word is serendipitous. This describes something happening by chance in a happy or beneficial way. For example, it was serendipitous that we met at the cafe. Or, she found a serendipitous opportunity to work abroad. Practice. I had a serendipitous encounter with an old friend. Now, he had a serendipitous discovery while researching online. And another. They enjoyed a serendipitous trip that wasn't planned. Then we have unwavering. This means being steady, firm, and not changing in your commitment or belief. For example, she has unwavering confidence in her abilities, or he showed unwavering support for his team. Practice. I have unwavering faith in my goals. Now, she has unwavering dedication to her studies. And another, they showed unwavering courage during the crisis. Our next word is indispensable. This means absolutely necessary and impossible to do without. For example, a good night's sleep is indispensable for good health. Or, she is an indispensable member of the team. Practice. I am indispensable in my role at work. Now, he is indispensable for this project's success. And another, they brought indispensable skills to the event. Moving on to plausible. This means something that seems reasonable or likely to be true. For example, her explanation sounds plausible, or he came up with a plausible plan for the trip. Practice. I think that's a plausible solution. Now, she gave a plausible excuse for being late. And another, they made a plausible argument that convinced everyone. Our next word is steadfast. This means being loyal, firm, and committed to something. For example, she remained steadfast in her beliefs, or he is steadfast in supporting his friends. Practice. I am steadfast in my decision to keep learning. Now, she is steadfast in her principles. And another, they are steadfast in their mission to help others. The next word is ephemeral. This means lasting for a very short time. For example, the sunset's beauty is ephemeral, or fame can be ephemeral if not maintained. Practice. Happiness from material things is often ephemeral. Now, she captured an ephemeral moment with her camera, and another. They enjoyed the ephemeral beauty of spring flow. Words. Then we have exuberant. This describes someone who is full of energy, excitement, and enthusiasm. For example, she was exuberant when she heard the news, or his exuberant personality makes people happy. Practice. I feel exuberant when I achieve my goals. Now, she is exuberant about starting her new job, and another, they were exuberant at the celebration party. Our next word is methodical. This means working in a careful, organized, and systematic way. For example, she takes a methodical approach to solving problems. Or, he is methodical in his research. Practice. I am methodical when planning my day. Now, she is methodical in her work, leaving no detail unchecked. And another. They are methodical in recording all transactions. Finally, for this section, we have coherent. This means something that is logical and makes sense as a whole. For example, her argument was coherent and easy to follow. Or, he wrote a coherent essay on the topic. Practice. I try to be coherent when explaining my ideas. Now, she is coherent when speaking under pressure. And another, they made a coherent plan for the project. Our next word is catalyst. This means something or someone that causes a change or event to happen, often quickly. For example, the new policy acted as a catalyst for innovation, or her speech was the catalyst for a community movement. Practice with me. I want to be the catalyst for positive change in my team. Now, he was the catalyst for improving the company's culture. And another, they served as a catalyst for bringing people together. The next word is concur. This means to agree with someone or something. For example, I concur with your opinion on this matter. Or, she concurred that the project needed more time. Practice. I concur with the suggestion to start earlier. Now, he concurs with my idea for the new design. And another, they concurred with the final decision after discussion. Then we have discerning. They. S means having or showing good judgment, especially about style, quality, or choices. For example, she is a discerning customer who always chooses the best products. Or, he has a discerning taste in music. Practice. I am discerning when it comes to choosing my friends. Now, she is discerning about which books she reads. Another, they are discerning investors who make careful decisions. Our next word is succinct. This means expressed clearly and briefly without unnecessary words. For example, his explanation was succinct and easy to understand. Or, she gave a succinct answer to the question. Practice. I try to be succinct when giving instructions. Now, she is succinct in her writing style. And another, they presented their ideas in a succinct manner during the meeting. Moving on to ambiguous. This means having more than one possible meaning or being unclear. For example, her answer was ambiguous, so I wasn't sure what she meant. Or, the instructions were too ambiguous to follow. Practice. I try not to be ambiguous when explaining things. Now, his statement was ambiguous and caused confusion. And another, they gave an ambiguous reply that left everyone guessing. Our next word is adversity. This means a difficult or unpleasant situation. For example, she showed great strength in the face of adversity. Or, he overcame adversity to achieve his dreams. Practice. I remain calm during times of adversity. Now, she handled adversity with courage. And another, they learned valuable lessons through adversity. The next word is audacious. This means showing a willingness to take bold risks or being daring. For example, it was an audacious plan, but it worked. Or, she made an audacious move by starting her own company at a young age. Practice. I admire people who are audacious in chasing their goals. Now, he made an audacious decision to change careers completely. And another, they launched an audacious marketing campaign that surprised everyone. Then we have credibility. This means the quality of being trusted and believed in. For example, her consistent performance gives her credibility. Or, he lost credibility after the mistake. Practice. I build credibility by keeping my promises. Now, she has credibility in her field of expertise. And another, They worked hard to gain credibility with their clients. Our next word is integral. This means being essential or necessary for something to work. For example, trust is an integral part of any relationship. Or, she plays an integral role in the company's success. Practice. I am an integral part of my team's projects. Now, he is integral to the school's music program. And another, they are integral to the community's development plans. Finally, for this section, we have precocious. This describes a child who shows abilities or qualities at a much earlier age than usual. For example, she is a precocious child who reads advanced books. Or, he showed precocious talent in playing the piano. Practice. The precocious student amazed everyone with his speech. Now, she is precocious in solving complex math problems. And another, they noticed their precocious daughter had a gift for storytelling. Our next word is affluent. This means having a lot of money, wealth, or a high standard of living. For example, he grew up in an affluent neighborhood, or they are an affluent family with many investments. Practice with me. I don't need to be affluent to be happy, but I want financial stability. Now, she lives in an affluent part of the city. And another, they work with affluent clients from around the world. The next word is benevolent. This means being kind, generous, and well-meaning. For example, she is a benevolent leader who cares for her team. Or, he made a benevolent gesture by donating to the local shelter. Practice. I want to be a benevolent person and who helps others. Now, she is known for her benevolent nature. And another, they made a benevolent decision to help struggling students. Then, we have copious. This means large in quantity or number. For example, she took copious notes during the lecture. Or, he drank copious amounts of water after the run. Practice. I take copious notes when learning English. Now, she made copious copies of the document for the meeting. And another, they received copious feedback on their work. Our next word is detrimental. This means causing harm or damage. For example, smoking is detrimental to your health. Or, not getting enough sleep is detrimental to productivity. Practice. I avoid habits that are detrimental to my progress. Now, she explained why fast food can be detrimental to long-term health. And another, they removed the policy because it was detrimental to growth. Moving on to exemplary. This means serving as a perfect example of something. For example, her work ethic is exemplary. Or, he showed exemplary leadership during the crisis. Practice. I want to have an exemplary attitude at work. Now, she is an exemplary student who inspires others. And another, they achieved exemplary results through teamwork. The next word is fortuitous. This means happening by chance, often in a lucky or beneficial way. For example, it was fortuitous that we met at the airport, or she had a fortuitous opportunity to work with an expert in her field. Practice. I had a fortuitous meeting that led to a great job offer. Now, he had a fortuitous win in the raffle. And another. They enjoyed a fortuitous turn of events on their trip. The next word is gregarious. This describes someone who enjoys being with other people and is sociable. For example, she is gregarious and loves meeting new friends. Or, he became more gregarious after joining the club. Practice. I am gregarious when I feel comfortable with people. Now, she is gregarious and attends every social event. And another. They are gregarious hosts who make everyone feel welcome. Then we have incessant. This means continuing without stopping, often in an annoying way. For example, the incessant noise from the construction made it hard to focus. Or, she faced incessant challenges but stayed determined. Practice. I can handle the incessant rain if I have good company indoors. Now, he complained about the incessant traffic in the city. And another. They endured the incessant ringing of the phone at work. Our next word is judicious. This means having or showing good judgment. For example, she made a judicious decision to save her money. Or, he is judicious in choosing business partners. Practice. I try to be judicious with my time. Now, she is judicious in her spending. And another. They were judicious when hiring new employees. Finally, for this section, we have kinetic. This means relating to motion or movement. For example, kinetic energy is the energy of movement. Or, her performance on stage was full of kinetic energy. Practice. I love the kinetic excitement of a busy city. Now, he explained the concept of kinetic energy in science class. And another. They enjoyed the kinetic feel of the roller coaster ride. Our next word is lucrative. This means producing a lot of profit or being financially rewarding. For example, she found a lucrative opportunity in the tech industry. Or, he has a lucrative side business that he runs online. Practice with me. I want to build a lucrative career that I enjoy. Now, she discovered a lucrative market for her products. And another. They started a lucrative partnership that benefits both sides. The next word is magnate. This describes a wealthy and influential person in business. For example, he is a real estate magnate with properties worldwide. Or, she became a fashion magnate after launching her brand. Practice. I read a book about a tech magnate who changed the industry. Now, she aspires to be a publishing magnate one day. And another. They interviewed a hotel magnate for the magazine. Then we have nuance. This means a small or subtle difference in meaning, expression, or sound. For example, he understands the nuances of different cultures. Or, she noticed a nuance in his tone that suggested he was upset. Practice. I try to notice the nuance in people's facial expressions. Now, she explained the nuance between similar English words. And another. They appreciated the nuance in the film's dialogue. Our next word is omnipresent. This means being present, everywhere, at the same time. For example, Technology feels omnipresent in our daily lives. Or, her influence in the company is omnipresent. Practice. Social media seems omnipresent in modern society. Now, he felt the omnipresent support of his family during tough times. And another, they discussed the omnipresent role of advertising in business. Moving on to paradigm, this means a model, pattern, or example of something, often representing a way of thinking. For example, the new app created a paradigm shift in online shopping, or he challenged the old paradigm of education. Practice. I believe we need a new paradigm for learning languages. Now, she studied different paradigms in psychology. And another, they embraced a new paradigm in their company strategy. The next word is quintessential. This means representing the most perfect or typical example of something. For example, he is the quintessential gentleman, or this cafe is the quintessential spot for book lovers. Practice. Paris is the quintessential city for romance. Now, she is the quintessential leader, kind, decisive, and inspiring. And another, they found the quintessential beach for relaxation. The next word is ravenous. This means extremely hungry, or having a strong desire for something. For example, after the hike, they were ravenous. Or, she had a ravenous appetite for learning. Practice. I feel ravenous after a long workout. Now, he is ravenous for new experiences. And another, they became ravenous after smelling the fresh bread. Then we have scrutiny. This means careful and critical examination. For example, the report will be under close scrutiny, or she faced public scrutiny after the decision. Practice. My work is often under scrutiny, so I check it twice. Now, he welcomed scrutiny because he was confident in his results. And another, they avoided scrutiny by being transparent. Our next word is tangible. This means something real and able to be touched or measured, or something definite and clear. For example, we need tangible results to move forward, or the excitement in the room was almost tangible. Practice. I set tangible goals for my progress in English. Now, she saw tangible improvement in her health. And another, they delivered tangible benefits to the community. Finally, for this section, we have ubiquitous. This means present or existing everywhere. For example, smartphones are ubiquitous in modern life. Or, her brand's logo is ubiquitous across the city. Practice. Fast food restaurants are ubiquitous in large cities. Now, he noticed the ubiquitous presence of cameras in public spaces. And another, they discussed how the internet has become ubiquitous in daily living. Our next word is vicarious. This means experiencing something indirectly through another person's actions or experiences. For example, she felt vicarious excitement when her friend won the award. Or, he enjoys traveling vicariously by watching documentaries. Practice with me. I felt vicarious joy when my brother got his dream job. Now, she lives vicariously through her children's adventures. And another, they experienced vicarious pride when their team won. The next word is warranted. This means something is justified or necessary. For example, her concern was warranted after seeing the results. Or, the teacher felt the punishment was warranted. Practice. I believe my decision to speak up was warranted. Now, his anger was warranted by the unfair treatment. And another, they agreed the changes were warranted given the circumstances. Then we have yearn. This means to have a strong desire or longing for something. For example, she yearned for a chance to travel the world, or he yearns to spend more time with his family. Practice. I yearn for peaceful mornings with a cup of tea. Now, she yearns to improve her English fluency. And another, they yearn for a simpler way of life, away from the city. Our next word is zealous. This means showing great energy or enthusiasm for something you believe in. For example, she is zealous about animal rights. Or, he worked with zealous determination to finish the project. Practice. I am zealous when it comes to achieving my goals. Now, she is zealous in her support for the environment. And another, they are zealous about community service projects. Moving on to adulation. This means excessive admiration or praise. For example, the actor enjoyed the adulation of his fans, or she received adulation for her groundbreaking work. Practice. He handled the adulation from his followers with humility. Now, she accepted the adulation with a grateful smile. And another, they were not used to so much adulation from the crowd. The next word is bolster. This means to support or strengthen something. For example, the evidence bolstered her argument, or he bolstered his confidence by practicing every day. Practice. I try to bolster my learning with regular practice. Now, she bolstered her speech with real-life examples. And another, they bolstered the community by starting a new program. The next word is circumvent. This means to find a way around an obstacle or rule. For example, they tried to circumvent the regulations, or he circumvented the problem by finding a creative solution. Practice. I found a way to circumvent the long process at work. Now, she circumvented the delay by contacting the right person. And another, they circumvented the system to speed up the process. Then we have dormant. This means inactive, but capable of becoming active in the future. For example, the volcano has been dormant for decades. Or, his talent remained dormant until he started practicing again. Practice. Some of my skills have been dormant for years. Now, she reawakened her dormant interest in painting. And another, they revived a dormant project and made it successful. Our next word is elusive. This means difficult to find, catch, or achieve. For example, success can be elusive without hard work. Or, she searched for the elusive answer to the mystery. Practice. Fluency can seem elusive without daily speaking practice. Now, he chased the elusive dream of becoming a professional athlete. And another, they finally found the elusive solution to the problem. Finally, for this section, we have frivolous. This means not having any serious purpose or value. For example, she avoids frivolous spending, or he was criticized for making frivolous complaints. Practice. I try not to waste time on frivolous arguments. Now, she spends her money carefully, avoiding frivolous purchases. And another, they decided not to focus on frivolous details and stayed on track. Our next word is galvanize. This means to shock or excite someone into taking action. For example, the speech galvanized the crowd into protesting, or she was galvanized into action after hearing the news. Practice with me. I want to galvanize my team to achieve more this year. Now, he galvanized the community to work together for change. And another, they galvanized support for the project through social media. The next word is hamper. This means to slow down or prevent progress. For example, heavy rain hampered the construction work. Or, lack of resources can hamper learning. Practice. I won't let fear hamper my progress. In English. Now, she didn't allow criticism to hamper her confidence. And another, they found solutions to hamper the effects of the storm. Then we have impeccable. This means perfect and without any mistakes. For example, she has impeccable taste in fashion. Or, his work is always impeccable. Practice. I want to develop impeccable pronunciation in English. Now, she presented an impeccable report to the board. And another, they maintained impeccable standards in customer service. Our next word is jubilant. This means feeling or expressing great happiness and joy. For example, the fans were jubilant after the team's victory. Or, she was jubilant when she passed her exam. Practice. I felt jubilant after reaching my learning goals. Now, he was jubilant when his artwork was displayed in the gallery. And another, they were jubilant at the news of the birth of their child. Moving on to knack. This means a special skill or talent for doing something easily. For example, she has a knack for remembering names. Or, he has a knack for solving puzzles quickly. Practice. I have a knack for explaining ideas clearly. Now, she has a knack for making people feel comfortable. And another, they have a knack for finding great bargains. The next word is lenient. This means being more forgiving or less strict than expected. For example, the teacher was lenient with students who were late. Or, he took a lenient approach to the rules. Oh. Practice. I try to be lenient when someone makes a small mistake. Now, she is lenient with her younger siblings. And another, they decided to be lenient with first-time offenders. The next word is metamorphosis. This means a complete change. in form, structure, or character. For example, the caterpillar's metamorphosis into a butterfly is fascinating. Or, he underwent a personal metamorphosis after traveling abroad. Practice. Learning English can create a metamorphosis in your confidence. Now, she experienced a metamorphosis in her career path. And another. They saw the city's metamorphosis over the past decade. Then we have nonchalant. This means appearing calm and relaxed, not showing anxiety or excitement. For example, he gave a nonchalant shrug, or she walked into the room looking nonchalant despite the pressure. Practice. I try to stay nonchalant in stressful situations. Now, he acted nonchalant when receiving the award. And another. They remained nonchalant during the unexpected delay. Our next word is ostracize. This means to exclude someone from a group or society. For example, they ostracized him after the disagreement, or she felt ostracized by her classmates. Practice. I believe no one should be ostracized for their differences. Now, he was ostracized for expressing an unpopular opinion. And another, they ostracized her from the group unfairly. Finally, for this section, we have precarious. This means not secure, likely to fall or collapse, or uncertain. For example, they lived in precarious conditions, or the chair looked precarious and unstable. Practice. I avoid being in precarious financial situations. Now, she was in a precarious position during the hike. And another. They made a precarious climb up the steep mountain. Our next word is quandary. This means a state of uncertainty or confusion about what to do. For example, she was in a quandary about which job to accept, or he faced a moral quandary when making the decision. Practice with me. I was in a quandary about whether to travel or stay home. Now, she found herself in a financial quandary after the investment failed. And another. They were in a quandary over how to solve the problem. The next word is reclusive. This describes someone who avoids social interaction and prefers to be alone. For example, the author lived a reclusive life in the countryside, or he became reclusive after the incident. Practice. I am not naturally reclusive, but I enjoy quiet time alone sometimes. Now, she became reclusive after moving to a remote village. And another. They lived a reclusive life far from the city. Then we have staunch. This means very loyal and committed to a cause or person. For example, she is a staunch supporter of environmental protection, or he remained a staunch friend through difficult times. Practice. I am a staunch believer in lifelong learning. Now, she is a staunch advocate for children's education. And another, they are staunch defenders of free speech. Our next word is trepidation. This means a feeling of fear or anxiety about something that may happen. For example, she approached the stage with trepidation, or he felt trepidation before the important interview. Practice. I felt trepidation before speaking in front of a large audience. Now, she opened the letter with trepidation. And another. They waited for the results with trepidation. Moving on to undermine. This means to weaken or damage something, especially gradually. For example, the constant criticism undermined her confidence, or he tried to undermine their authority. Practice. I won't let negative comments undermine my progress. Now, she refused to let stress undermine her health. And another, they worked to undermine the opposition's arguments. The next word is vindicate. This means to clear someone of blame or suspicion